right? After you've done that, then you set aside, same as Wallace, the incubation stage, you just leave the thing alone. I don't know if any of you do this, but if you take your time throughout a semester and you study periodically, all right, a particular subject, let's say this subject. This is a little bit different because I do a lot of review, but I'll give you a practical example. I had a chemistry class one time, which, you know, I'm not really good with chemistry. And what I did was I'd go home every single day and I'd rewrite my notes, rewrite them every single day. Then when the exam came at the end of the semester, the major exam, I didn't have to cram. I did not cram. I reviewed, you know, a couple of days before, but then the night before the test, I wasn't up till 4 or 5 in the morning, you know, trying to stuff the information in my head. I just let it go, just relaxed. Your brain is phenomenal. Right? It's an incredible creation that we have, all right? If you put it in pieces and you start making associations, when you need it, that thing is going to come up. So the incubation stage is basically just saying, I trust what I've done so far, let me rest, okay? And then the answers come up, right? Then we talked about the synthesis, putting the pieces together, right? Now the idea starts surfacing. Oh, I'm seeing this pattern. This is going to work together with this. It's almost like a puzzle that you are piecing together. Then after you have that, you have to judge, just like the verification stage in Wallace, you have to judge the resulting ideas. Now in advertising, also in political campaigns, in public relations as well, does anybody know what that evaluation stage is before you actually release things to the public? Anybody, any advertisers in here? Want any advertising executives that are future executives? Okay. Well, what people do, it's called focus group testing. Right? Anybody heard what Domino's did recently? You seen the commercials, right? Did that over a period of time. They had people eat their old pizza and tell them what they thought about it, right? And people said, you know, the sauce tastes like some ketchup. You know, the crust is like cardboard. You know, which was really true. But they're still making a lot of money because people just kept eating it. It's just like mindless stuff. You don't even taste it. Just well, they went back to the drawing board after all those focus groups and said, you know, we got to give them a better pizza. So they did. And it is better. I had it the other day. It's not bad. All right. So that was that?
I thought it tasted exactly the same as it did before.
Oh, we got to check your taste buds.
I liked it before.
So, you liked it before? Okay. Well, there are always those that really.
That's how it is. If you liked it before, it doesn't really taste that much different. But if people didn't like it, then they taste a new version. They're like, oh, it's definitely better.
It was different.
For me, it's the same way.
Listen, I'm a pizza connoisseur. All right. I was raised in New York City. There's no pizza like pizza in New York. By the way, I never knew what pepperoni was until I was like 18 or 19 years old. Right? What is pepperoni? What do you got to put stuff on pizza for? You got to be kidding me. Pizza is pizza, right? And it's, you eat it by the slice, and it's a pie. It's a pizza pie, all right? Moving right along. All right, so that's what focus groups are for, to tell you whether your idea works or not before you spend all this money on airtime, before you spend all this money on producing things, okay? Whatever it is, right? So that's the evaluation stage. All right, let's take a look at these side by side now. Wallace and Osborn, you have the preparation stage of Wallace's is both orientation and preparation for Osborn, all right, and analysis, actually. All those three go into preparation, as well as ideation, actually. All those preparation, though, you have all those first 4 steps. Incubation stage is the same. The illumination stage is similar to the synthesis stage in that you start putting pieces together, and then at the end, you have to verify and check to make sure that what you are proposing as a solution is actually going to work. All right? Any questions about Wallace and Osborn? Now, in the process of creating something or trying to solve a problem, you may get stuck somewhere, and without any kind of solution. So one of the things that you can do is revisit one of the previous stages. Let me go back and gather more information. You do that indiscriminately. Now, if you have the luxury of time and money, you can do that. Sometimes you don't, all right? And let me say this one other thing before we talk about the CPS model, about creativity. There is a false notion, as a matter of fact, I heard it recently, that in order, I may have mentioned this already in this class, so forgive me if I'm repetitive. In order to really be creative, you have to wait for the muse to show up. Anybody hear me say that before? All right? Anybody ever hear anybody say that? You have to wait for the inspiration to come. All right? I'm going to say this unequivocally. All right? That happens sometimes. But those people that rely on that are really lazy. Okay? The most creative people work at it. They don't just sit around or only draw or only paint or only create music when they are inspired. All right? They have to eat, they create. Okay? Creativity is work. It's being able to motivate yourself in order to come up with a solution. All right? There is another word that kind of ties in with that notion of waiting for the muse, which is the word serendipity. Comes from an Indian story, Indian from India, of this girl who was named Serendip, who went out throughout the day, and all these fortunate things just happened to her throughout the day, right? So when you have a serendipitous event, that is something that you did not plan for, and everything just happened and worked perfectly. So if you go out in a production and you don't plan, you just go out, I'm just going to be serendipitous today, whatever comes, whatever flows, the energy that comes and the ideas that I get, that's what I'm going to use. There's one problem with this. Sure, this happens once in a while, but it happens most and best to those that plan, okay? If you rely exclusively on the muse to show up and on serendipity, when you're out and you've got 25 people on your crew and you've got 250 extras waiting for you to tell them what to do, you have to use that first idea that comes to you. You have no choice because you got to get the thing done. You got so much time. Whereas if you did the work beforehand and you planned meticulously and you know exactly what you want, then you go out there, then all of a sudden, here comes the wind. And the leaves start blowing. I didn't think of that. But you know what? That looks beautiful in the foreground. Let's get the camera. Let's shoot this. All right? You always have your plan to fall back on. You can be more creative if you have a plan as opposed to waiting for the muse who is, well, I'm not going to say that. Somebody who is just hanging out underneath bridges. All right? Okay, let's take a look at creative problem solving, the CPS model, right? Very similar to the other ones, all right? This is objective mess finding. Again, just gathering stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as you're in the process of trying to solve a problem, that is when you just gather information, okay? Here you start gathering the specific data, okay? You start finding the specific data that you're going to need for your problem, all right? At this point, the problem finding, that's when the issue becomes more clear, okay? Becomes clearer and clearer as you go along. Then here you start generating ideas. You have all the information, you got the problem relatively focused, which changes, that changes. The problem can become more and more in focus the more that you do the thing, all right? It becomes more refined, and you understand how to deal with it better. Then you start coming up with ideas to solve that. and by selecting and strengthening the solutions that you find. And ideally, you come up with different alternatives. It's not just one solution that you might come up with. Then you create a plan for action, and essentially what it is implementing that idea. Right? How do I actually do this particular thing? All right? This is on Blackboard, so you want me to go back here? All right, I'll go back. You can check that out, all right? Objective, mess finding, fact finding, problem finding, idea finding, solution finding, and then acceptance finding, all right? That's the model, and actually it's represented in the next slide, all right? Preparation, imagination, development, and action. Okay. As we looked at before, models. Okay, this model is primarily a what? Visually, what geometric shape? It's a circle, right? And which direction is the circle going? Right. It's going clockwise, right? It's going to the right. So that's the progression. Okay. Again, just to review, let's look at each one of these side by side. Gather all the stuff together indiscriminately. Okay, after you've gathered all the stuff together, then you start making associations with things, putting things aside that do not pertain, looking for connections between those things that you have. Start creating some notions. Perhaps this is what's going to work. You're not sure just yet. You set it aside. Don't think about it for a while. Let it incubate in the subconscious. Then you have the illumination stage. The synthesis happens often subconsciously. You can do that consciously as well, but most often happens subconsciously. Comes up, and you have the aha stage. And then with that aha, you check that aha with the thems and the these, all the people that you are going to be communicating with. Now, again, this is not just with the ultimate group of people or the ultimate person that you are communicating with. This is also, and primarily, not primarily, initially with your team and the people that you are overseeing and you are helping to create. Any questions? Okay, on Friday, we've got a couple of more theories, plus we'll also look at some particular techniques for coming up with ideas and coming up with solutions. We'll deal with that then. We'll see you on Friday.